Captain Picard. Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
My Readier Room.
Hello and welcome to the Readier Room, the only longest running and self-proclaimed best Star Trek The Next Generation rewatch podcast. Ours is coming at you every week with behind-the-scenes stories and hidden lore about the series that you're feeling kind of okay about. My name is Mitchell Mells, Chief Consultant of Services at Paramount Studios, and with me is my life partner, Brandon Hobbs. How are we doing on this hot summer day?
Well, Mitch, I gotta say, having trouble sleeping recently. I notice you are too.
Yeah, it's a lot of things. It's a confluence of things that's keeping me up. Not the least of which is somebody's snoring, but yeah.
All right, well,
for another time.
Well, personally, I have trouble sleeping because I'm just so excited about not just The Next Generation, but our work upcoming on Picard here.
Yeah, Picard 2.
There's a lot of crazy things happening for Trek these days.
There is. Did you hear that they finally settled on what the localized name would be for the next season of Picard in Japan?
What's that?
Nicard. So look forward to that. It's
okay.
We've been burning the midnight oil on that one, as many creative people have been, to give the audience something brand new that is completely familiar to them, and I hope they appreciate our efforts.
They better.
I'm excited for it. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We might do a little special on that.
Ooh. We might.
What do you think about that?
I love it, and I love the idea of doing it from the set, not behind the scenes, from the scenes. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's
like,
I think.
Yeah.
No,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Then I will. I'll go ahead. It's like you're a kid, and it's like, oh, I have to only go to sleep 30 more times until Christmas morning.
Right.
And now it's like, man, I only have to go to sleep like 20 more times until I can get ignored by Patrick Stewart. It'll be great.
Right. Yeah, marking that down on our calendar, our shared calendar,
our shared Trek calendar.
Yeah, with you know how they are with the little pictures of the cast and stuff. Which we are selling on our store, by the way.
You'll never guess who March is. I mean, you can guess, but the audience.
Oh yeah, I was confused for a minute.
No, it's a pitch to the audience. You'll never guess who March is,
yes,
and then they're like, oh, I want to know. I got to go buy it.
You will never guess who March is. Yeah, so that's on our store. It's actually it's like behind the scenes pictures that we personally took. Really, really high quality stuff. We had good cameras and stuff back then. I mean, you probably didn't. The audience, you probably didn't. But
if you were in the industry,
being in the industry, it kind of puts you a few levels above the average person. So, take a look at that.
And I promise, all the days are there. I counted, so you're getting a good product.
People don't think about that when you have to make a calendar. Just how much work goes into, because you have to factor in. You got to remember all the days of the month, right?
All the months, first of all.
All the months, yeah, and then you have to make sure that the date is falling on the right day, right?
Have you ever bought a calendar where all the months start on Sunday?
Oh yeah,
all the time, right?
Unbelievable. How does this even happen?
It's a lack of oversight and a lack of caring about the craft. I think.
Yeah. So I mean, we put a lot of effort into this calendar. We put a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So yeah, we would greatly appreciate it if you could check it out.
I developed a secret for calendar making, which I guess in podcast exclusive I can share with the audience. I made a little mnemonic, and I was almost done with the project by the time I figured this out, but if I ever need to do it again, or if you need to do it, audience, you'll appreciate this. So 30 days have September, April, June, and November. The rest of 31, and then February has some amount of days depending on the year. But
That's really good.
It's helpful. It's handy.
Yeah. Yeah, I especially like how the first half rhymes, and the second doesn't. It's kind of like a cool dichotomy, right? That really makes it stick in your brain.
Yeah, it's that jarring element of it that stops you from forgetting it. So it's
wow.
That's a free insider's tip. And I hope you
should
enjoy it.
you should patent that.
I'm thinking about it. I might copyright it, patent it, stick it in a stew. I'm not sure. But it's, to me, you can't own an idea, right? You put it out there, you let it fly away, maybe it comes back to you, and if it doesn't, it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, if you love it, let it go.
Exactly. Right? If let it go somewhere else. Yeah. So we'll see where this idea comes home to roost, whether with me, with somebody else, with other calendar makers. Do you know the word for a calendar maker? It's a chronologist.
The word for calendar maker.
It's a chronologist.
Chronologist.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yeah. I went and added it to our business cards.
Oh. Well, yeah, I guess that does make us chronologists, huh?
Exactly.
Wow. I've never been a chronologist before.
How does it feel?
I don't know. Different.
You wake up on a different side of the bed when you're a chronologist. You put your pants on 2 legs at a time.
Yeah, I mean, the flow of time just feels so different for me now. Now that we've done this project.
It's kind of
It's like not linear almost, you know?
To me, it's like when somebody tells you, "Oh, you're now aware of your breathing," and you feel like you're, the physical exertion of breathing rather than doing it secondhand. With this, now I am aware of the moments as they pass, and I feel like I can expand or contract them as I see fit.
Right. You're consciously aware that, for example, today is Sunday.
Exactly.
Right. Which is mind-boggling.
It's a very different experience from the 80s where, you'd go to a party and then you'd wake up and it would be like 3 days later and, who knows what happened.
You could call your assistant.
Yeah.
She'd come with food and clothes and a
little more fuel to keep you going. You know what I mean? 3 more days.
Right. Yeah. And we won't get into that anyway.
This is a family podcast.
It is.
And the greatest addition to our family is the question of the week, because it gets to include all of our children in the processes, which is our lovely ensigns out there in podcast land. And this one comes from Jose in Mexico City.
Oh,
Yo, Jose. Yeah, I hope...
Yo, Jose.
Yo, Jose. We hope you're doing well. Jose asks... it's this one. What is Picard's favorite season? And I think that this one's without a doubt the worst question we have ever received. We've gotten
terrible
non-questions before, but in the realm of a question, this is the bottom of the barrel. Like, I don't really know what goes through people's heads when they think that it's okay for me to waste others' time asking about banal nerd shit that nobody cares about, nobody thinks about, that doesn't even, it's not even worth the brain cell power expended to consider it. Here's a newsflash that many people out there might need. Fictional characters, they're not real. They don't have opinions. It doesn't matter. If it doesn't serve the story, then it doesn't exist. Picard's their favorite season never factored into the story, so he doesn't have one. That's just how it is. I do.
Yeah, and that's a hard pill to
It
swallow,
is.
isn't it?
It is. It's like, oh, if Picard was, living in our time, would he be a Manchester United fan or an Arsenal fan?
Oh my God, we used to get those all the time. Remember?
Yes. It's like, man,
Uh,
I don't care about Highlight.
right, right. Well, it's as an audience member, I guess you look at these characters and you say, well, here are all my friends, my only friends even,
You,
and
you look at some
when
characters
they're
like
not real, it's like it's crazy.
you look at some characters like Riker, and you're like, wow, he's just like me.
Right.
I do.
And he's not.
He's not. I don't know if that's better for you or not. Depends on who you are. But my answer to this question is actually twofold. One is, for the love of God, find a hobby that satisfies you that's not just consuming Star Trek. Good Lord, you need it if this is the level that you're at. Two, even if I was going to seriously consider this question, it doesn't even make sense within the lore, because Picard is French. He's English with French heritage. I'm not exactly sure, but he's from Europe. And as we all know, Japan is the only country that experiences all 4 seasons, so Picard wouldn't even really have an opinion on a favorite season. So the question, just even unto itself, taken seriously, makes no sense.
Right. And what better way to spot someone uncultured than this question?
Right. It's a real putting your foot in your mouth moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's just Mexican education for you.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and that's. I'm not going to get into this on the podcast.
No. But Jose, your country's not going to do it for you, so you got to educate yourself. Do better. Don't come to me with this. You want to come back with a redemption question? That's insightful. Maybe I'll consider it. I'll look at your Patreon level, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, but I do want to stress that we are not required to do the emotional labor for you.
Right.
Okay.
It's not our job to educate you.
Right. You need to perhaps do multiple Google searches. Or you know what, even better, you can go to Twitter and just make a tweet, and then whatever someone said, the first person who answers you, just take their opinion as fact and roll with it.
Just listen. Open your ears and listen.
Right. Yeah. Stop talking for a minute and try to take this all in. From people's lived experiences. Because you certainly don't have any.
I'm so tired.
It's exhausting, y'all.
So, if you at home have a question that you want us to answer, you can send it to thereadierroom@gmail.com or tweet at us at thereadierroom, and we'll take a look at it. And if it's good, we'll answer it. Anything you want to know about Star Trek or TNG or the daily life of a chronologist, we'll answer you. So, today is a very exciting day in our schedule, because we're on to season 2 now.
We are.
So
we are.
And before we talk about the premiere episode of season 2, we might as well talk about that interim period, the end of season 1 and the beginning of season 2. What had to go on there. And it was very, very fly by night in a lot of ways. Whereas you might expect it to be, okay, let's get the preparation going, let's get the scripts written, let's start all our prep work on it. Not the case. It was very much, let's just relax. I don't know how we got renewed. It probably won't last that long. Let's just get kind of a free ride vacation here, do a little bit amount of work when we come back. And that's it. Which was great if you were on that payroll, because you basically just had several months of off time to just go to Hollywood parties and stuff.
Yeah.
And if you're a hot number like Jonathan Frakes, you're the life of those parties, and no amount of work is gonna hold you down.
Certainly.
So we got up to a lot of trouble during that time. but we live to tell the tale.
Oh man, that's a good Patreon podcast, isn't it?
It is. That'll just be tales of 80s Hollywood nightlife. That's not the punchiest title, but it is the most accurate.
Right.
A lot of white leisure suits and a little bit of white something else. You know what I mean?
A lot of white something else.
A lot of white something else, especially if
and then even more of a white something else.
Baby. Those are definitely for the X-rated podcast. So after, the summer of our lives of living it up, finally became time to come back to work and
much to our chagrin.
You don't realize how nice it is to go several weeks at a time without hearing the word holodeck.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and especially because the first season was really an astounding success. I don't think we expected it to be that way at all, like you said. But even with just the first season, we were all kind of finding ourselves a lot wealthier.
Yes, which is the most important thing to find yourself.
Right. Yeah, that is absolutely where you do want to find yourself more than anything. And so, with this newfound wealth, what else do you do but party?
Oh,
and,
yes.
We had enough left over that no one really had to go back to work.
Yeah, you could have. It was a situation where you could ride on either your savings or, syndication credits for a long amount of time, especially with proper investing, which nobody did. Nobody thought about the long-term ramifications of their actions, and the brightest candles burn out, or something like that.
Yeah, you almost got it.
And it was the realization of that, the lack of investment and the unsustainability, even for another month or so, that really convinced everybody to reconvene and continue what we started.
Right.
And so TNG continued into its second season, and ultimately leading up to a full 7.
And we really had no idea what the ramifications of that were going to be. I mean, look where we find ourselves now.
Yeah. I want to go back.
Yeah, me too. If anyone tells you that things today are better than they used to be, they're absolutely lying.
So the first episode of season 2 is called The Child. And it's watches like an erotic fan fiction.
Yeah. Well, funny you say that, actually, because the concept for this actually came from one of Gene's old notebooks, where he wrote like all of his erotic fiction ideas and stuff like that. For the audience, Trek was, or Gene before Trek was actually a pretty prolific, I would say, smut writer, for lack of a better word, right? He wrote for decades, and I mean, the times being what they were, it was always under a different pseudonym, right? Vladimir Nabokov, Judy Blume, the list just goes on and on and on and on. And owing to the fact that no one had prepared for this season, right? It wasn't just us, right? It was the writers, it was the directors, the producers. No one had any idea what was going on. So I can't remember who it was. Rick probably pulled this out of Gene's desk, thumbed through it, and said, "Hey, here's a good one. And this was a well we'd actually come back to quite often. Like for example, when the writers just didn't feel like working.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and you can, with that knowledge, you can pick these episodes out pretty easily.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it does definitely feel. I mean, when you look at it from the standpoint of it being a Trek episode, it definitely feels like fan fiction.
It also just feels ridiculous in a lot of ways. The conceit of this episode, is, you would guess by the title, is that there's a child. Troy gets pregnant and gives birth, and there's a child. It grows up and it dies, and then credits roll. It's so puzzling because no part of this episode, and I know I'm kind of jumping all around here, but no part of this episode really has a point to it. This whole child angle plot thread doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
The B plot doesn't really matter either. It's only there to lend like some abstract sense of danger to the proceedings. And
Well, so the issue is that the kid is having an effect on whatever they're carrying. Am I right about that?
yeah, it's the kid is introducing some amount of radiation, which activates.
But it's just so loosely connected, so lazily connected.
Right, and the biggest problem with all this is that no character in this episode goes through any kind of arc, not even a side character. There's no overarching plot to all of this.
Right.
It's not an emotional episode with Troy and like her dealing with motherhood. That's one way they could have taken it, and it's like, oh no, my child that I'm growing to love he has to die because he's gonna kill everybody on board with this radiation. How do I deal with this emotionally? Mm-hmm. That's an episode that you could write. It's just, it feels so incredibly pointless. Everything here does.
Yeah. It is all pointless, and as far as the story goes, none of the characters act like themselves.
No,
for the most part.
No, and it starts off in a really weird way where I don't know if
where it opens with the Enterprise and its child.
I was thinking that. Why are there two Enterprises? Is this a special effects mistake? Hope someone got fired for that. It opens up with seemingly with the assumption that nobody has seen season 1 and we need to establish every single one of our characters.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them have gone through like very, very moderate changes from the first season. For example, Geordi's now the chief engineer. Worf's now wearing a yellow shirt, which you don't realize
it's a big change.
you don't realize how much you missed that until it comes back.
I mean, no, we've already discussed this where it's like, a character not wearing their trademark shirt, suddenly, half the audience can't tell who's who.
Exactly. If Worf wasn't a Klingon, there would be tons of problems with that change.
Mm-hmm.
And Riker's got a beard.
Riker does have a beard. It's finally happened.
He's not yet 2 cakes, but he has become beard.
Yeah, he's slowly transforming.
In the first couple minutes of this episode, we see him in his constant flagrant disregard for proper sitting etiquette.
Yep. He loved doing that, Frakes.
Is this the first time that happened?
Can't be. It's not, no.
Are you sure?
Pretty positive. I'm pretty sure he did it. He did it. Oh, nah, never mind. I can't remember, but I swear he's already done it.
I don't think he has.
We're going to have to play back the tapes. We're going to have to watch every single episode again.
Yeah, just when we thought we were out of season 1.
pulling us back in.
If this is the start of that, then I think that's a very, very monumental occasion for Trek.
If it is the start of it, yeah, I agree, but I don't think it is. So
now the cool thing about the first few scenes of this episode is that it quickly becomes apparent how the budget was increased between seasons 1 and 2.
It looks so much better.
It looks so much better, and there are several new sets added to the lore of the Enterprise. There's like a nursery, some kind of school set. There's the bar, 10 forward. There's a lot of things that you can tell, even though the characters are the same and the costumes are the same. You can look at it and be like, yeah, this is a season 2 episode, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Season 1 looked like garbage. Now, the coolest addition, I think, is kind of the actualization of what TNG was always supposed to be. And of course, I'm referring to the Doctor character.
Right.
Now, the name had to be changed to explain like the different appearance, but as for the look of the character, it was always supposed to be like that kind of look, that makeup that we see in there.
This kind of like old hard look.
Yeah. Now, when we were budgeting for season 1 and we got our makeup budget, we're like, okay, we need to do Worf every episode and we need to do Data. How are we going to get the makeup necessary to get Gates looking like this? And there just wasn't enough money, so we just kind of ran with it, and Gates just was herself. Wasn't the original vision. Gene was very, very annoyed that a redhead was featured in such a principal role. Gene and his ginger vitriol is pretty legendary.
It certainly is.
But with season 2, we finally had enough of a budget increase where we could say, all right, Gates, you, along with Brent and Michael, are going to go into makeup every day for, I think it was an average of like 4 hours in the morning. And you're going to become this new Doctor. The name was supposed to be Crusher from the beginning. It's like, okay, Crusher's kind of a hard name. This Doctor personality is kind of a hard ass. But, that could be let go to get the look that Gene had always wanted. And now we reintroduced the Doctor character under a new identity. And it worked. I don't know how it worked in this episode. What is your opinion of Pulaski?
Well, first of all, I gotta say, Gates's range here is incredible.
That's true.
You can barely tell it's the same person, and makeup, probably the best thing they've ever done.
I think so. You compare this makeup to, like, I don't know, the Traveler, and
right,
or those stupid lizard and dog people.
But I've always liked this Doctor. And I know a lot of people really don't. I think we were talking off mic earlier, and I said something about how they were probably going for like a more of a Bones type character. And
I said, what?
Only me having seen a couple episodes of the original series here, but I think that's pretty clearly what was going on here. And I don't know, I think she has like a certain kind of dynamic with the rest of the crew that obviously you didn't get with Crusher, and I think has its own merits. I don't know, this episode not really great, but I think she goes on to do some interesting things, if I remember correctly.
There's certainly some good points to her introduction here. I like how her very first line is just shutting down Picard.
Yeah.
Picard's like, Doctor, I don't know how you did things on your ship, but on this ship we respect protocol. And she's like, just sit the fuck down. We gotta talk about this. Which is cool. And she has a more rather a less tolerant relationship with Data.
Right.
Culminating one of the worst scenes of all time.
Oh yeah, the old data bit.
Yeah, because that needed to happen. The scene's too inside baseball for me.
Yeah, I can't imagine an audience member would get that.
Right, because you hear it as the audience member, and you're like, wow, how we only have 47 minutes in the episode, and you're spending 3 of them on this.
Right.
It's a whole petty argument where Data insists his name is Data, and the Doctor insists, or it's like, I'll call you Data, and then Data's like, no, my name's Data, and she says, oh wow, you're offended. That's amazing, and Data just tilts his head like 45 degrees.
sounds like your average Twitter conversation.
So the reason that's in the episode is because that is an actual exchange that took place in the writer's room. I almost said the data room. In the writer's room.
And the data room.
And the data room. So at some point during the writing process, in the middle of, actually towards the end of season 1, somebody said to someone else, isn't it pronounced Data? And then, remember, you couldn't look these things up very easily back in the day. A whole fight breaks out. The room's divided into 2. And, we keep coming back to this well, but, like, Michael had some wisdom here where he kind of butted in and said, well, regardless of who's right, if you change the name to Data, the audience will just assume that it's Data's android brother or something. And we can't just confuse them like that. And the Data people, they quickly acquiesced to it. And I think the reason the Data supporters threw this line into this episode, or rather this conversation, is because the Doctor also ultimately acquiesces. And it's kind of a jab at those Data people.
Yeah. It's like a little touchdown dance.
Yeah, taste it, really.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I was Team Data for sure.
Team Data, it's good to be on the right side of history. It's it is cool though to see somebody who doesn't just treat Data like this lovable child that everybody else does.
Yeah, it is nice that not everyone has this I don't know, sense of wonder while talking with this extremely autistic grown man.
It's like when there's an autistic child kind of like flapping his hands around screaming, and some sensible adult just like strikes him on the back of the head and stop that. Right.
Yeah, definitely. Although, I mean, Data is much more likable than your average autistic child.
This is true. That's the wonders of Hollywood magic.
But yeah, I guess it's kind of a symptom of Gene's mandates, about not having the bridge crew kind of have any conflict at all amongst themselves. Season 1 being like that, and then this new character gets thrown in. I think this is kind of Maurice's idea to allow her to kind of butt heads, right? Like, she was always going to be this kind of straight shooter, like very stern character, but I think Maurice really took the chance with the introduction of this new character and kind of geared her towards being more antagonistic towards the bridge crew, which was actually not intended, but has some good results.
It does, and it speaks a lot about season 1 when this minor petty squabble about the pronunciation of a word is the biggest conflict that we've seen.
It certainly does. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably a bad thing, but
you listen to it,
I don't know,
and you're like, is she a villain? Is she the antagonist? She's arguing.
I'm supposed to hate her, right? And funny enough, that's why like 90% of Trek fans do hate her, because the show basically primed them to.
Yeah, that, and she's a woman.
Oh yeah. Well, there is that problem. I mean, that's that's for another discussion. That's actually going to be one of our panels at TrekCon coming up this year. So,
True to the double Trex chromosome.
So, yeah, I completely lost track of what we were talking about before we started talking about the data.
We were talking about the Pulaski. Pulaski?
Oh, Pulaski, right? Yeah.
In general.
Yeah.
But,
she's. I don't think we've seen enough of her yet.
No. And it's nice that she's in the main cast, so we will see more of her. But it's not the type of character that, from the impression you get from episode 1 of season 2, not the type of character that you feel there will be many stories based around.
Right.
You know, like, you have a Riker, and he's always in the middle of the action. He can go anywhere. He can basically do anything that the plot needs him to. So he can serve any story that you really want him in. Whereas someone like Pulaski is like this, 95-year-old woman, just works in the medical bay, which isn't really on camera all that much. What is she going to do for the story? Bring people back to life from the dead? I don't know.
Yeah, I doubt it. I mean, she's more of a foil anyway, her character, so... That's
true. Yeah,
I will agree with you. From what I remember, there's probably not much written, for her character, but we'll see. I think you're probably right.
There's there's something to be said about, they've tried to make Crusher in season 1 act as the foil to Picard on a couple of occasions, where Picard, for example, at that drug, those 2 planets with like the parasitic relationship with the drugs. And there's that. There's one more too that I can't quite remember, but where Picard is like, I'm going to do things by the book. Crusher, as a doctor, wants him to have some humanity, and those 2 clash. But
was it to save Wesley?
I think so.
Yeah.
But the thing is that in those exchanges, Crusher never really had any kind of pull or weight to her arguments, because that emotional approach doesn't really work with Picard, who's very by the book. So it's hard.
And she's also hopelessly in love with Picard as well. So there's a sense of familiarity that Picard has and takes for granted with Crusher.
Right. And because of that, it's difficult to take her seriously as his foil, or for those scenes to hold much tension. It comes off more as like, this whining woman, like Picard just push her out of the way and go follow Starfleet regulations. Whereas somebody like Pulaski seems to meet Picard more on his own level and oppose him there.
Definitely.
Which is a lot more effective as a
great point.
As a character foil.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Do you think Dr. Crusher deserved her new post?
As the chief medical officer?
Yeah.
Do I think she deserved it? Let's seriously think about this. On the one hand, she showed a pretty willingness to disregard Starfleet regulations. On the other hand, she can revive the dead, which as a doctor is pretty good.
That's like the best thing you could possibly do as a doctor. That's the epitome of skill in that profession.
So yeah, I guess she deserved it.
But she can only selectively revive people. If the plot doesn't serve, whomever is dead being brought back to life, then she cannot bring them back to life, unfortunately.
Well, it's a matter of perspective. If her bringing somebody back to life does not interfere with the plot, then she can do it. And
right.
As
so she'd be able to do it all the time.
Exactly.
Wow, that's beautiful.
It's true poetry. Now,
But no one's ever coming to the ship and saying, "Oh wow, aren't you Dr. Crusher, the famous scientist who will one day be chief medical officer of Starfleet?"
yeah, she doesn't have much reputation. Like
Yeah, she doesn't have any prestige.
all of her backstory was tied up in her husband dying and
Right.
Picard telling her about it. It's like,
Meanwhile, you have someone like Picard, whom people know, someone like Riker, who people know,
wow, that was
someone like Data, who people know.
that was truly excellent. Picard, whom people know, and Riker, who people know, just covering all your bases.
just try to make sure I get one of them right.
Right, but you're right. Those characters have reputation and pull. Whereas if somebody were to approach Crusher like that, they'd be like, "Aren't you're Dr. Crusher? You're the person that Picard delivered bad news to that one time."
Right, and it's weird because I often don't think about it, but this is a show about what, like the best starship in the Federation, right?
It's the flagship, I think.
Is that what they call it?
That's what you would call it typically in like a
Okay.
fleet. I don't really know how spaceships work.
All right,
That's
well,
an
it probably is that. It probably is that then. Well, I mean, every piece of science fiction, the spaceships are just naval ships in the sky. So
right. That ties into your favorite thing of being unable to leave behind, centuries and centuries old Earth culture, no matter how far we advance in both space and time.
Well, I actually don't mind that repurposing old naval words for it. It's kind of quaint, and it gives you like a little bit of a connection to it as an audience member. You can kind of, relate to it in some way. But
so, do you like it when they're in a space battle and they get hit and they're like, photon torpedoes have breached our starboard bow and
our poop deck?
I don't think spaceships have a poop deck.
Probably not.
They do have a latrine.
We need to talk about Whoopi.
We do need to talk.
Right?
Had she won an Oscar at this time?
She'd won an Oscar at this point, and she'd been wanting to actually get on Trek for a while, and so she basically applied through LeVar because all these people know each other,
right?
And he's basically the one who got her the quote job, I guess. Even though she could have easily done it, come and petitioned for it herself. She could have walked onto set at any point unannounced and said, "Hey, can I be a Star Trek character?" And they probably would have made her one.
Well, it helps when you look like one.
Certainly does. It certainly does. Guinan is great.
I like Guinan based on the accumulated knowledge I have of her.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think this was the strongest Guinan showing.
Right.
Which is fine. There's a lot going on in this episode, while also there's not very much going on as far as the plot. But whatever. In this episode, she just exists to counsel Wesley Crusher, but it is good that role is there of a like this impartial. I was about to say counselor, and I'm like, well, I guess Troy's there, but she doesn't really do her job.
I was gonna say she's kind of stealing Troy's job, isn't she?
Well, if Troy actually did her job, then this wouldn't be a problem.
People wouldn't need to go to the bartender,
right? But yeah, Guinan. The coolest parts of Guinan, I think, are the contrast of her approachable, friendly advice and all those unknowable aspects of her identity and history and
right,
all that, which create like a pretty intriguing character.
Yeah, and that is true, and you're kind of left wanting more every time she shows up,
right? Which
is a good thing, but I didn't really think about it in this context. But as you just said, I think I really do base a lot of my my liking for the character on the actress.
Yeah,
being who she is.
she does a great job.
She does.
It's tough to remember that Whoopi Goldberg's a good actress when she spent I don't know, the latter third of her career just appearing in terrible films.
I like that she kind of, in the same way that the new Doctor is a foil for Picard, so is Guinan, right? She's obviously if you had to rank, these characters in terms of wisdom, Guinan would be above Picard.
Definitely. Picard, so it's like a chain of command, in a sense that, let's say Pulaski would go to Picard to argue some point, whereas Picard would go to Guinan to seek advice.
Yeah, and she's not necessarily condescending, but she approaches their interaction from a place where she clearly knows, she's sort of above him.
Right. Picard's just a human. Guinan has seen her race killed by the Borg.
Right. Guinan is some kind of a Q thing or something.
Yeah, she knows Mark Twain. And Q.
Oh God, don't even. We're not going there right now.
It's hard. I mean, I can't think about Guinan without.
What do you think? What do you think Mark Twain called her?
I can't say that word on the podcast, man.
Oh man. But yeah. Good new character there.
Yeah.
She remains as such for the rest of the series, which is great.
That's the thing where you have these characters that are added, and you're like, yeah, it's pretty good. This seems interesting. I think you can get something out of this character. And there's so many good ideas. I love the new sets, and then you watch the episode, and you think, oh, this is still kind of season 1-ish. Some stupid shit happens, doesn't amount to anything.
Right.
What's... my God.
Kind of. But, I mean... Yeah. There are a lot of obvious improvements here, though. I mean, speaking of new sets, 10 Forward has to be the coolest new addition.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of that.
There's a lot to say about 10 Forward. Its place inside of the episodes, it's a much needed public leisure set. Whereas before, probably any scene that took place in 10 Forward would have somebody walking in someone else's bedroom. But now it's like, okay, they're relaxing on 10 Forward and they meet somebody else. It's very useful. And it's very useful insofar as the plot, also insofar as the budget. So the inspiration for 10 Forward was that, having gained the clout of season 1, when renegotiating his contract, Frakes stipulated that he needed a place to, have a drink and relax between shots. In the contract it says, quote, shots between shots, but I don't know how that made it through the lawyer's eyes. But anyway, we had the money to do it, but that doesn't mean we're just going to incinerate cash. And it's like, well, if we're going to build this, what is essentially a bar, why don't we make it a set? And that's kind of how we got 10 Forward, which, if you didn't know, is a fully functioning bar. It's stocked, obviously, the more colorful drinks are just props, but underneath the bar set, you get a pretty good selection there. And, I don't know if it was method acting or if Gene just shouted at her to do it, but sometimes Whoopi Goldberg would, tend that bar for people.
Oh, yeah, and little known fact, Synthahol is actually one of Frakes' homebrews.
What did he say that he put in it again?
Oh God. How do you even make alcohol?
That's a good question. Something about hops.
How do you make beer?
Hops.
Yeah, you need hops. You need some kind of yeast.
Barley?
I don't know.
But it's true bathtub gin kind of energy.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that if you didn't have the constitution of Jonathan Frakes himself, you'd probably go blind. But it only seemed to
Mhm.
increase his powers.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he'd take a few shots of that, and you wouldn't even be able to tell. It was
Honestly,
impressive.
he smelled more like onion bagels than he ever did of alcohol.
I know, right? Which is weird because he absolutely consumes more of the latter. I know that's surprising, but
I think that if you dunk an onion bagel inside of alcohol, it masks the scent. Now
okay.
that's just hearsay. I
Well,
can't
there's
vouch for
there's
that.
some there's a little tip for our alcoholic viewers. You know, you have a few drinks, go to work, make sure you follow up with an onion bagel.
Yes, yes. And lucky thing for Frakes was that in Hollywood, nobody really cares. You show up drunk.
Oh, yeah.
On a set of some TV
Yeah.
show. It's like, who gives a shit?
Right.
I mean, like I said, it's part of his contract. It's not like it was a secret that he was drinking.
Right. Although it did make him a better actor. We'll say that.
It did, and you'll see the results of that if you're watching along with us.
Yeah. I mean, soon too. So I guess it's time to actually talk about this episode, huh?
Do we have to?
So, just to run through it real quick, we do have to contend with the Troy pregnancy. So beginning of the episode, they're loading something onto the Enterprise. I kind of fell asleep.
They're loading samples of some highly dangerous thing.
Something.
Yeah, and they're stressing about the protocol of it. Oh, I got to build these containment units so these things don't get out. We all have to be on our guard, and yeah, it's very serious.
Yeah. The captain of the baby Enterprise tells Riker, "Give my regards to your captain," and he doesn't do that.
Amazing. I
Which
didn't notice that, but that's great.
made me wonder, though. When someone tells you give my regards to some mutual acquaintance or say hi to them, do you follow up on that? Do you say, yeah, sure, I will, and then just not do it?
I think there's about a 50% hit rate for most people.
Yeah.
We see
I would say the same.
We see a second instance of this request later in the episode where Picard asks Wesley Crusher to give his regards to his mother. We don't know the results of that one, but if it's a 50% hit rate across the population, then it's a coin flip.
Yep. It's nice to see that Riker is just as human as we are.
Yeah. Although it's not difficult to feel a little less human when you're compared to Jonathan Frakes.
Yeah, that Adonis. Yeah.
So
we're treated to this little ball of light effect that's flying around the Enterprise, right?
Apropos of nothing.
With a tinkling whoosh.
Yes, which is subtitled.
And so it flies past the Riker and Geordi stand-ins, and makes its way to Troy's room, where it seems to, yeah.
It does take a pit stop at at a man with the world's hairiest chest.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I forgot about that.
The way that shot was framed, the light caught on each strand of hair.
It's glowing.
Yes.
But yeah, eventually it ends up climbing up Troy's birth canal. And let me say first that getting Marina pregnant for the episode was I mean, as you might expect, a bit of a hassle, right?
Yeah.
And then of course we had to wait another 4 or 5 months just to film the rest of it. So that was already kind of an issue going into this episode, and it really made me wonder why we even went ahead with it. But whatever.
I think the results speak for themselves.
I mean, from a certain point of view, that's for sure. Any Marina fans out there definitely had a good time with this episode. So yeah, it somehow impregnates her, and
which is known
She
immediately.
seems. Yeah, I was just about to say that. She seems so in tune with the fact that she is pregnant. Not even second guessing. Oh, has this ball of light impregnated me? Maybe not. Maybe I'm just assuming. No, she knows.
I
And
like
she's gonna keep it.
I like to picture Troy like with a baby that's born and it's crying and she's just like, it's hungry. Oh wait, maybe it's just tired. I don't really know. And
she is able to pinpoint these wildly specific emotions
yes,
from a baby.
yeah, given her power set, her betazoid.
You're
power
angry because Worf said you should be aborted.
Set.
Which, you know, is funny when you think about the fact that you know, Worf and Troy will have the relationship that they come to have, and just a couple years prior, Worf had told Troy that he wants to kill her unborn child.
Yeah, do you think they talked about that? Maybe they're having pillow talk, and Troy's like, hey, you remember that time you kept insisting I should abort my child?
So I looked it up, actually,
Uh-huh.
because I had to know, and it is in a novel.
What is?
The conversation.
No way.
It is.
Good lord, do you know the
Well, because
contents?
you know I actually tried to find like a free ebook of it, but there was no way I was paying $8 for it just to read the line. Although maybe that's coming, you know, like as a little segment, because these things just sound like gold mines, these stupid books. So but you know, every single diehard Trek fan, when the time came for them to start their little relationship, Troy and Worf, they all instantly jumped back to this scene.
Yes.
Like they had like a vision of it and like started breathing heavily. You know, how could they not bring this up? How is she okay with it's almost rapey, you know?
Now, the real drama would have been when Worf gets Troy pregnant and the discussion of what to do with that child.
Right, the mongoloid halfling.
I like to think that in Klingon culture, you automatically attempt an abortion on any child, and if the child survives, like it fights back, then it's worthy of being a Klingon.
That's pretty cool. That's really, I like that. That's going to be my new headcanon.
Yeah. Yeah.
As the kids say.
So really, when Worf is suggesting an abortion, it's more of the rite of passage. It's like, oh, it's
right.
A warrior's birth.
Right. It's a cultural thing, and you know, as we all know, culture is subjective, and
right, it's
relative. A society, yeah, it's relative. So a society that kills its unborn children, unless they're able to jump out of the womb and stab you, is just as valid as, you know, our civilization, really.
I was really interested in the details of birth in Star Trek, because it's like, surely I know how weird this sounds. Surely at this point in the
you can't be serious.
At this point in the future, there's got to be like an extremely easy way to give birth, right? They're not just like tearing vagina asunder.
What, you think they have pod babies or something?
Well, I mean, you know, they already have perfected the C-section. Surely that's gone somewhere.
Oh yeah, and they can like heal those kinds of injuries immediately too. So
right, so it's like, all right, we'll put this person under.
Although, you know, you're the C-section actually kind of isn't good for the baby, because it's supposed to pass through the canal in order to get like the bacteria from the mom and stuff. So C-section babies actually have a. I'm sorry?
She can just spit on it or something.
I guess. Why didn't anyone ever think of that?
That's a good question.
But anyway, sorry. Go on.
No, I was just kind of interested in that to see, like, oh, what kind of futurism would we get here? And turns out it's nothing.
Yeah, no. But you did get to learn about the gestation period of a betazoid.
Yeah, which is suspiciously close to humans. By the way,
Mhm.
I don't know why this has come up, but apparently, if you ask your average like American how long does a baby take to birth, how long will they say?
1 year.
What? No.
What? Oh, I thought it was a trick question and people are stupid.
No. Just what's your image?
9 months.
Okay. Now, if you ask a Japanese person what their image is, what will they say?
1 year.
They say 10 months.
What?
Yeah, I know. Suspiciously like the Betazoids.
Huh. Wow. Really makes you think, huh? And they all have black eyes too.
Yeah, it's very strange, but it is interesting to me. And you could have made a Betazoid gestation period anything. Why do you got to make it basically the same as humans?
Well, I mean, because they're very humanoid. I mean, they look exactly the same. It would have been weird if Betazoids were wildly different.
They can read minds.
That's it. That's the only thing that separates them.
And their stupid black eyes.
Yeah, they're disgusting, hairy fucking apes.
Of mostly water.
What a callback, Mitch. Oh my god. So yeah, the entire crew, I guess, the bridge crew gets to have a say. They sit in on this little meeting.
Yeah, that's great. Love that.
Where I mean, first of all, I have to say, just to sort of address the elephant in the room here, a lot of fans, insofar as the entire episode goes, they tend to theorize that it's like an allegory for abortion, right? And that this scene in the meeting room, right? There's like this footage being played in the background. It's abstract, right? It's like futuristic stuff.
Right.
And this certain subset of fans is like insistent that this is actually an image of a real fetus that was subsequently aborted. There's all those YouTube theory videos floating around there for everything when it comes to Trek. So
right.
I'm sure you've seen some of them, but I just have to say, I mean, I will admit that it does kind of look like a fetus if you squint just a little bit. But this whole rumor is completely baseless, and honestly, it's insulting to me.
Well, I mean, everybody knows that, Trek is not. It's had some wild ideas, but it's not just gonna go dive into that in primetime television on your season opener. No. Especially not something as radical as abortion. I mean, this is a very pro-life show, I would say. It is. We always had the motto on set, Star Trek's a family show, by families, for families, about families that are related to families. And we stuck by that on every level of the production. We didn't proclaim it so loudly such as to alienate people, but at the same time, we definitely were not advocating for anything that might oppose that moral center. Yeah, definitely. So that's why you see, obviously, Worf suggests they should abort the child, and Troy says, "No, I am keeping it." She says, "No, I will not kill him." And Riker's there. Love Riker in this scene. Love his loud demanding, "Who's the father?" Yeah. Still can't get a grasp on what their relationship is here, because then, he goes and watches his wife's son being born, and he's very happy about it. He watches it from outside the room. And then... Did he? Yeah, because what happens is that... Oh, I guess he would have to be outside the room, yeah. Right, but she's there, of course, the doctor's there, and Worf's there. which is the complete party that you need to deliver a baby. Foreshadowing Worf delivering Keiko O'Brien's baby in the future, by the way.
Yeah, that's true.
But afterwards, the door opens and Troy says something to the effect of, "Oh, I knew you were here. I knew you were watching." And then Riker comes in.
Yep.
He's like, "Oh, it's I don't know what he said. He says something stupid. It's like, "Oh, it sure is a baby." Whatever. Here's the thing. Did Pulaski ever say the sex of the baby? I don't know if I missed the line, but
I don't think so. No,
I have the feeling that Troy gave it a boy's name without ever being told it's sex.
Well, she just knows. She can feel these things.
That's true. She is very perceptive.
She just knew she was pregnant. She knew what impregnated her. She knew that everything would be fine if she had it. Which it was like a 3-day gestational period.
Yeah. See, people they'll talk about the 3-day gestation period. They won't talk about how ravaged Troy's skin must have been after rapidly expanding and shrinking in the course of 3 days.
Oh God. All those stretch marks.
Right?
I don't even want to think about it.
I don't want to think about Troy in general.
I don't want to think about Star Trek. So
yeah,
I don't even know where to go from here.
So the kid grows up very quickly. Picard sees it like the next day or later in the day, and it's already like a 4-year-old Earth child. Mm-hmm. So it's growing up very, very fast, and Picard talks to it, and he says, "Oh, tell me why you're here," as to the child, that energy entity that impregnated Troy to begin with. And the child says, "I can't tell you yet," which is a very foreboding line. And you might expect there to be a payoff for that. There's not.
Yeah. Yeah, what a stupid line, really.
It's a fine line if it led to something.
Yeah, if it pays off, yeah. But yes, it doesn't. I am struck also by how attached Troy has become to this child over the course of like a day.
Yes, she instantly, once they're in the meeting, she's like, "All right, I'm gonna have the kid," and from then on, her motivations is locked in, where she has no qualms about, basically being raped or being thrust into this role of a mother.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing about Troy's character in this episode, is that she has basically zero agency or really any emotional depth at all in this episode. So it's very uninteresting to see what happens to her, and her relationship with this. I mentioned this near the beginning, but her relationship with her son should be the emotional focal point of the episode, when really it's just irrelevant.
Yeah, totally. And so much time is spent on this I don't know, dangerous radioactive MacGuffin, which I also have to point out, because I noted this down, but Gene always said, we shouldn't be making stories, where like our technology fails us, right?
Right.
And what do you know? It's another tried and true engineering problem episode, where the entire crux of the conflict is just, oops, something broke with the engine.
Well,
and I have to point out that this is the first time Geordi is shown as chief engineer, and things just go to hell.
It's this one's a little muddier, because they check the containment unit and they say, well, there doesn't seem to be a problem, and obviously it's just the energy radiation thing that impregnated Troy that is the cause of the problem. I don't know how much this can be levied on Geordi, on the Geordi Defense Force, but yes,
okay.
the all of the tension revolves around, oh, we are doing this process and now it's failing.
We did an oopsie poopsie,
right? Which is also not very interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I mean, like you said, with Troy not having agency, no one has agency in this. It's another Traveler type deal where they meet an alien. The alien decides everything that's going to happen to everyone, and then the alien leaves.
At least with the Traveler one, we had these promises of an arc for Wesley Crusher, and Wesley Crusher did have some development over the course of that episode. Whereas with this, when I'm talking about this, it is astounding to me that they had 47 minutes of script written here. It's because there's just nothing happens. There's no conflict in the episode. I was about to say there's no antagonist, but there's just no conflict.
There's no consequence for anything. I mean,
no.
Everything is left as it was at the end of this episode. Like we left off where it started, and Troy is never affected by this again.
Imagine just like 3 minutes of like I guess you would call it postpartum, maybe, but just some feeling of loss or detachment from Troy after this kid dies or disappears. It's like, oh, I know I didn't know him for that long, but he was a part of me, and now he's gone. Something like that. And then Guinan, it would be Guinan, would say something, well, all of the atoms in the galaxy are constantly changed from one type of matter to the other, so truly everything is a part of us. And Troy would be like, I'm gonna have a hot fudge sundae, and Guinan would be like, make that too, and then the episode would end.
The live audience would clap. Now that you mention it, that is a scene that's conspicuously absent that really needed to be in there.
And it's so easy to write that scene.
It totally is.
Wait, you're gonna tell me you didn't have time because you had to spend 3 minutes of data?
This whole episode could have been very easily written. It's really a wonder that several people looked over the script and said, yeah, that looks good.
Yeah. Well,
but then again,
it's based on erotica, gene erotica.
Right.
And when you're writing erotica, you don't have to worry about the ending. Most people are going to finish with it before that.
Oh, absolutely, yes. We have. I just gotta do a brief shout out to the mention of the saucer sep this episode.
Yes, that was good. Although, there's the thing. Riker, he's talking to Picard, and he says, "Oh, we can't get the situation under control. I suggest that we move all non-essential personnel to the saucer and prepare for separation, or to the other part that's not the saucer, whatever."
The saucer.
Yeah, and Picard's like, "That's a good idea. Make it so." And then it cuts back to Riker, who does nothing.
Riker is really like off his game this episode, isn't he?
He is. He's like, I got a beard now. I don't need to do anything.
I don't need to give anyone my regards.
Oh, jeez. But that was so conspicuous to me. Make it so, do nothing. And
I did not notice that somehow, but there we go. Now we're 1 for 1 here.
Yes.
On things we didn't notice about Riker.
I'm not gonna lie, these are truly the best parts of these Star Trek episodes. What's the word I'm looking for? These elements that don't fit together, that are just
plot holes.
Not
inconsistencies.
Inconsistencies. That's it. I was thinking incontiguous, and I don't even know if that's a word.
Incontinence.
Yes. Those are the best, because one of us will notice it and the other will be like, yes, it's exactly it. I know that exactly what you're talking about, because I'm also just retarded and that's all I think about.
Just the stupidest stuff. So we are left, I think, with Wesley and his little arc.
God, there's more. There's more to this episode, and it's still nothing. Good God. So yes, Wesley has an arc based on his mother not being on the Enterprise anymore, and what's he gonna do with his life?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's, he talks to Picard, he talks to Guinan. Should I stay on the ship? Should I go somewhere else? What am I going to do? And he stays on the ship. And that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had more to say about that, but
I guess not really. I mean, I guess it was a necessary thing to include because he was only like an acting ensign,
right.
And if his mother left the ship, then it would follow that he would also leave the ship. So they had to write around that somehow, right?
Well, that's the thing. All the fans were worried. If Dr. Crusher's not here, that means Wesley has to go. Oh no.
Yeah. He was. I mean, whenever we would run character polls, he was constantly in the top 3.
Right. So that's why that's why he stuck around. We could have written him out of the show if we needed to, but we didn't. And he's still there.
Yeah. No, he's still gonna be kicking for a while.
Still
but
saving the day.
We end on Wesley. We end on Wesley in a little, I guess, comedic relief scene on the bridge, and you do remember the scene in the first draft of the script we got, right?
Yes, that was a hit at the table read.
Yeah, yeah, that was something. So for the audience, we go through Riker asking, who will see to his studies, and then who will tuck him in at night. But the original script had Riker asking one more question, that being, and who will milk him? With, of course, Troy enthusiastically volunteering herself, having just lost a child.
Exactly. It was the bookend.
It was all tied into kind of that arc. But I remember Rob just stopped dead in his tracks in the middle of the scene, which I guess wasn't hard, being in the wheelchair and all. But he called John over just furious, right? And for the life of him, John just could not understand that this was not a normal parental obligation. The milking of one's child.
Indeed. But it's what's nice about that original vision, at least, is that it would have really reinvigorated the Star Trek fan fiction community.
Certainly.
So I like that. It's by including those elements that really engage with the fans, you create a more creative, artistic fandom.
Right.
As it stands, when you have these more boring scenes, it's a little more difficult for people to latch onto. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess in that vein, we already did have Worf say he was going to tuck Wesley in, right? So
that's true. I guess at that point, it's more of the desired genre of the output.
Mm-hmm. Right. Of course, and I mean, I could see a Klingon on human child being popular, male Klingon.
True. Yes.
What do you think it looks like down there?
The Klingon?
Yeah.
I think
no, the young boy.
I think a Klingon's genitalia would be it would be somewhat penis-like. It would be phallic with a thin shaft and then a more bulbous spiked head.
But it's got to be spiked, right?
Right.
Should I look this up?
Yeah.
All right.
I think you should.
We're gonna look it up.
Live on
Readier Room exclusive. I spelled penis wrong.
Well, I'm googling Klingon genitalia.
Surprisingly, not getting a lot of results here.
Did you go to images?
Yeah.
Here's just a picture of Worf's face.
Apparently they have a double penis.
Oh, well, here's something. This is not about their genitalia, but apparently they have a claw growing out of their foot. Which I always thought was just like their shoes, but That's not the case. It's an actual claw.
We've never seen Klingon feet?
Not bare feet, no. But if you look at their
Weird.
shoes, they have like a little claw coming out of them.
No, Klingon feet. I guess that's a wash. Yeah, I'm not getting any images, but they do have a double penis. So
one for each hand, I guess.
yeah, not something we talked about on set. We were too
mature,
too involved with Data's penis, really.
Yes. Well, that's the dwarf sex scene is the truly interesting one.
Right. I mean, wow, that's kind of crazy to think about. We've had so much like Worf X, someone.
Well, Worf's kind of a sex
recently.
dynamo. When you think about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he'll yell at you.
Yeah.
Or he'll scream at you.
He'll abort your child to prove its mettle.
Yeah, and I mean, come on, women love that.
Oh yeah. So, final thoughts on this episode. I'll just say it was terrible, because it was.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad as an episode, and it was even worse as a way to start off the new season.
Yeah.
Really not feeling good about it. But I'd like to say it's only up from here, but it's not.
No, once we get to season 3, we can talk about going up.
Right.
But
no,
that's another half of a year of our lives.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited for more season 2. I think the production value alone is going to carry my interest for a little while, at least.
We got Guinan.
That's true. So, yeah, agreed. Terrible episode.
Well, that'll do it on that.
That will do it on that. My question for you this week.
Yes, I'm ready.
I got to think about how I want to ask this.
Now is the best time to prepare that.
I don't know if I can think of a good way to ask this question.
Is the answer Dorf?
It's not Dorf. Yeah, I can't make this into a question. I'm sorry. I just found it so funny that I wanted to.
All right. Well, you can give me just a trivia corner.
I'm just gonna give you the trivia. Okay.
Okay.
As you know, my coming up with these questions for you is the process is just checking the wiki.
Right.
And here's what Memory Alpha says under the article Ian Troy.
That's the child.
Under the subheading Apocrypha.
I'm ready.
In the Star Trek Destiny trilogy, Troy's attempts to conceive with Captain Riker after the two transfer to the Titan are hampered because carrying Ian caused previously undetected damage to her reproductive system due to the unique radiation he generated. However, this damage is treated by the Saliar, a highly advanced race, resulting in Troy successfully carrying her daughter to full term.
Good God. So what's the point of writing that? Is it a novel?
It's a novel trilogy.
So if you're just gonna say, oh, she had a irradiated uterus, but it got better, like what? Who cares?
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there was more intrigue in the actual book. I did just read a synopsis of it.
Is that the plot of the book?
I don't think it's
Riker
the plot.
And Troy's journey to conceive.
I think it's a plot, maybe not the plot.
Might be the B plot.
Could be the C plot even.
Right. Well, that would be the conceived plot.
Ah.
Terrible. I hate Star Trek.
Yeah, I really do want to just grab all of these novels though, and pour through them.
You would have a veritable library of shelves and shelves of books All of which are Star Trek novels.
All of them just of no value whatsoever to any thinking human being.
Get the one of Q and Troy's mom. What's the name of that?
I mean,
one again?
I don't know. I don't know.
something.
But that is where you start with like unnecessary books about relationships between two like completely unrelated characters.
Let's see if we can make one up. Worf's son Alexander has an adventure with the archaeologist woman that Picard met on that pleasure planet.
I could literally see that happening. I think like you really just created an actual book.
I'm an author.
Now all you have to do is shit out like a few hundred pages and you're good. You should pitch that.
I should. I'll collect some royalties on the idea. Once you make an official episode of Star Trek that's Alexander and Troy's mom, that relationship, you can do anything.
Wait. Why are we doing Alexander and Troy's mom?
Because that's an actual episode of TNG.
Oh yeah, that's right, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
They like go to a spa together in the holodeck.
Right. Oh my god, I totally forgot about that.
I remember I watched that episode while playing Mahjong at like 4 a.m. And I don't know if that enhanced my experience of the episode, but it was certainly the worst episode of the series.
That's impressive. The worst of the series?
Yes, I'm aware.
Wow.
I'd rather watch The Naked Now. I'd rather watch the clip show. We'll get to.
Well, I am excited to get to that episode.
There's in the Hall of Fame of baffling Star Trek episodes, TNG episodes. There's that. There's the Dr. Crusher in a haunted mansion with a ghost. Probably some other ones that are equally stupid. Season 7's a trip.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It'll be a nice bookend.
Oh, we were talking about books. Oh baby. So
Wow.
I guess that'll do it for this episode of the Readier Room. Join us next time where we seek Season 2's salvation. And until then, everybody, please stay ready.
The troublesome little man-child.
Consider that in the history of many worlds, there have always been disposable creatures.
Do you consider yourself superior to us?
Should have told him to mind his own damn business.
When I stroked the beard thusly, do I not appear more intellectual?
Computer! Freeze program.
It's not a promising beginning.